So Mark joins us right now, and he's going to convince all of us that we have been living a long lie, a lifelong lie. When we were told in school that the Earth was round, we were being lied to. And Mark, thanks for being on Extra Sauce.
Thank you very much for having me.
A lot of people think you're bat crazy, but
I know.
Actually, you know what? Shu is becoming a believer.
Now let's slow down. I've been reading up on this since I knew we were going to talk to you, and I don't know, some of it to me, I'm a conspiracy theory kind of guy.
Oh yeah.
Some of it to me, it freaks me out a little bit how much I kind of buy here.
Sure.
Yeah, we're as a skeptic, but the whole enclosed dome thing.
Well, we'll get into Mark. I wanted to ask you first. When did you start to believe that the Earth was flat? Like when did you start to really believe this?
It hit me. My Jerry Maguire moment for the flat Earth was February 10th of 2015. Woke up in the middle of the night after looking at this thing and trying to debunk it because nobody likes it. It's a piece of crap theory.
Yeah.
And everybody starts up. The T-shirt reads, "I became a flat earther because I tried to debunk flat Earth." And I tried for months and months, woke up on February 10th and said, you know what? I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to make a series of videos. I'm going to put it out on the internet. I'm going to see if anybody challenges it. And honestly, I thought that for the first week or month or whatever, I thought, you know what, some scientist, some academic's gonna shoot this thing down in 2 seconds because it's easy, right? It's easy. Everyone knows it's an easy thing to debunk. And the exact opposite happened. Massive amounts of people started contacting me. Subject matter experts started calling in. I got to get unsolicited. I was interviewing all these people. They turned it into a book and a website and apps, and here we are 2 years later, and now I'm putting videos about how Shaquille O'Neal is not a flat earther.
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
Well, that's how the discussion started on the morning show, and honestly, I mean, people were texting in. Like saying, explain why you're out on the ocean and you can see essentially the horizon and where it spills over. I mean, how do you explain that stuff?
Oh, sure. No, there is a horizon line, of course, but that's just the limit of your perception. That's just your vision only goes so far. Now, what's interesting is when people will say, "Oh, well, you can see the boat going over the horizon." That's the most common thing we get.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And here's what's changed since the last time any flat Earth thing has really come up, and it's been a long, long time since this thing has been a topic. Find a camera like a Coolpix 900 with like an 80 power zoom. A boat goes over the horizon, you see it go away, right? And you think it's gone and it's gone over the horizon. You take your camera and you can zoom and bring it back into frame. And you can do this again and again until finally the atmosphere gets so thick, because you can only see so far because we're only breathing 20% oxygen, the rest is nitrogen. The boat should not be there. And by that I mean, if anyone's listening, they were trying to figure this out with math. If the curvature is 8 inches per mile squared, and I know everyone hates math, so I'll do it for you. That means that it's every mile times itself times 8 inches. So if it's 10 miles, it's 10 times 10, which is 100, times 8 inches, which is 800 inches. There should be 800 inches of curvature at 10 miles. And it just gets worse and worse. So at 50 miles, for example, it should be 50 times 50 times 8, which is roughly pushing 1,700 feet of curvature. You should not see anything because it's on the other side of the hill, and yet we see objects time. In fact, I put a challenge out there a year ago. I said, find me an object at less than 200 miles that we can't see. We can see the Chicago skyline over Lake Michigan, 50 miles, any day of the week, time lapse. I talked to a missile instructor for the United States Navy, who said, yeah, we're painting targets with a beam radar, ship to ship at 50 nautical miles, that's 60 miles on land because nautical miles is bigger. He goes, that's impossible. It cannot be. That's 2,000 feet of curvature. We should not be able to paint the target. And it just goes on and on and on. But yeah, that's the horizon.
Yeah. But also, you mentioned, and some stuff I was reading, you mentioned Admiral Byrd in Antarctica. And that he would fly around in a plane and fly around in a plane. And I'm thinking of that. People are flying around in planes all over Earth. How do they not see if it's flat, how do they not see that? The supposed...
And that's a great question because lots of people will say, well, pilots would have to be in on it and scientists would have to, and everybody in NASA would have to be in. No, nobody's in on it. It's so big, and anyone that's trying to figure out, I don't know how you introduce this thing, but everyone's trying to visualize this. Look, you're in, and this is going to blow people's heads open. you're in a very, very large version of the Truman Show, which means that if it is a Truman Show, enclosed system, that means the ground is more or less perfectly flat. All the pilots that I've talked to, the air traffic controllers, the flight instructors, military pilots, civilian pilots, they've all said the same thing. It's like, look, when you get up to altitude, yeah, we all see a very perfectly flat horizon, but we're taught since we're kids that it's a globe. So it's this weird paradox. It's like, okay, how do you know that it's curved? And the pilots, they honestly, they all say the same thing. They go, we missed it because we're too busy. It's like, what if we start in point A and land in point B and nobody dies? That's a good day for a pilot. So we don't worry about it. And the ones that do, who are they going to tell? So no, pilots know full well when they're looking up there that's a flat horizon, but they can't do anything about it. Sorry. Go ahead.
So no, listen. I mean, it's you're either wildly intelligent or you're a complete nut job kook. I mean, this dome theory. Let's get into this because we mentioned it briefly at the start. You think that we're living under an enclosed dome, an enclosed world.
Yeah. Take your pick as far as terminology. You want to say terrarium, planetarium, snow globe, wildlife preserve, amusement park ride, sports stadium, because that's really, it doesn't have to be a high arcing snow globe. It can be a very, very shallow stadium because most of our civilization only lives from sea level to about maybe 1 mile up. That's about 5,000 feet. That's 95% of our population. And even if the barrier of this thing, the upper edge of this thing was, let's say, a couple thousand miles high, that's still very shallow in terms of the grand scheme of things. And people say, well, the edge, you're talking about the edge of the world. I'm going, yeah, I am. I'm saying that the United States and the Soviet Union during Operation Deep Freeze in 1956 were looking for this thing. They had the old maps. They tried to figure it out. They looked for 30 years. Admiral Byrd was down looking in Antarctica for 30 years, from 1928 until 1956. They found it took them that long to find it because it's way in. It's not like it's the coastline of Antarctica. You have to really, really go inland to find the outer marker of this thing. And once they found it, they sealed off Antarctica forever. And it's one of the greatest secrets that nobody knows. Like, look up the Antarctic Treaty. It's not a hidden document.
So wait, what did they find?
They found the edge.
In my opinion, it was the. If I had to, this is my opinion, of course, but there's a lot of people in the community they'll go with this. They found the barrier, the wall, the fence.
The edge.
You want to call it the Game of Thrones wall. Now, what it's made out of, we have no freaking idea.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a heavy element, a heavy water, a frequency, a force field, electromagnetic. We don't know. But once they found it, they realized, okay, we can't let anyone near this thing. So they basically created a treaty that is the most impenetrable treaty of all time. All countries have to sign this once you become an economic power that says if you have a corporation, you are not allowed to set up shop in Antarctica ever, forever. It's not even up for debate, and that was from 1959. It's not even for up debate until 2041, and that's it. And that raises so many eyebrows in our community. It's like, look, greed, money, power, that rules the world. And you're telling me my corporation, my oil company, no matter who I bribe or who I grease palms, I can't go down there? Nah, not buying it.
Did Admiral Byrd ever say anything about it, or was he silenced?
Well, that's a great question because he was, down there from 1928 up until his last mission in 1956. And then he died in 1957 and, from supposedly at his home from a heart failure. You're looking at the guy, when you watch his interview in 1954 when he went on the CBS show Longines Chronoscope, and that's on YouTube, you can look this up, when he's talking about how Antarctica is going to be full of resources that you can fuel the world for a long time to come and everybody's going to be fighting over it. He looked perfectly healthy to me. And, I'm sure he was a man of integrity, youngest admiral in the United States Navy of all time, probably the greatest explorer of all time. And, I think they looked at him and they said, he's not going to be able to keep quiet about this.
You also said one of the founders of NASA, one of their main scientists, when he died, he left a clue on his tombstone because supposedly he believed they were biblical references, right? And those had to do with being enclosed.
Yeah, that was a gem that we just stumbled across. Werner von Braun, and some people will know the name, the ex-Nazi scientist. You don't think, again, that NASA is an accident founded on the still burning embers of the Nazi war machine. when he died, I thought his gravestone would have been a giant statue of him holding a rocket up and pointing at the sky. But instead, it was a very modest headstone, and it only had 3 things on it: his name, the year he was born, the year he died, and a Bible verse. And in fact, it didn't even list the Bible verse. It said Psalms 19:1, which, if you look it up, it says, "And the firmament shows his handiwork." Why in the world would the father of rocket science, literally the rocket scientist, why would he be talking about a domed structure? Why would he be talking about something that's covering us? He would be one of the few people that would have to know. Remember, he was the guy that said in the 50s that we're not going to the moon anytime soon. We'd have to use 3 spaceships the size of the Empire State Building, and it would take. We don't have the tech for it. And then a couple of years later, he's going, "Oh yeah, we can totally do it."
Well, Mark, I mean, listen, I'm a dope. Like I didn't even graduate from high school. So explain to me.
I got thrown out of college.
Yeah, I hope you're not working at another one now, because you may be thrown out for this stuff. When I see pictures of the Earth from space, it's round.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I know we don't have a ton of time, so I will break this one down real quick for you. First picture of Earth ever taken in direct sunlight. You can look this up, not secret information. 1972 from Apollo 17. The first picture of the Earth in full sunlight. You got 2 things. One, you got to wonder why Apollo 8 through Apollo 16 never took this picture. But then, do you know when the second picture of Earth was taken?
No.
2 years ago. In fact, not even 2 years ago. 43 years, and they only used 1 picture of the Earth from space. And you're saying, well, no, I can look up on the internet and see all these pictures of the Earth from space. I looked up in the year in 2000 just because I was looking for images of the Earth from space. Literally, there was only that image, time and time again. The first iPhone that was released, you probably remember this, had the background of the Earth. It was the blue marble shot. The guy that made that image, literally made that image, Scott Simmons, did an audio interview where he's going, "Oh yeah, I had to Photoshop it and I can create that image for the iPhone because there were no images to use."
So you're basically saying it's like every single person's dating profile, like when they're online and they're using a picture from 20 years ago.
Right. There you go. It's a really blurry headshot. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Huh. It's amazing the lack of things when you go to look at NASA, because everyone wants to lean on NASA for this. Like, I can disprove it by leaning on NASA. So many things that aren't there. Yeah, of course, you're going to have some live streams and some footage here and there, but there's so much more that should be there that isn't.
What's the biggest piece, like the single biggest piece of evidence that convinced you that the Earth was flat?
Wow, it's really kind of a compilation, kind of like when you go to the mechanic and they say, well, when you buy another car and they say, well, it's a lot of little things that are wrong with it. If I had to pick 2 things for people to look that they can test themselves or look at themselves, I one on the ground and one in space. The curvature was a big one for me once I started getting going with this, and that is the 8 inches per. When you go out in the water and you think you see a curvature. In fact, you want to see the curvature. I still have people to say, "Oh no, I can see the curvature of the beach," and it's like, no, you can't. Or I can see it from a mountaintop. No, you can't. Or an airplane. I go, okay, fine. And I put this challenge out there 18 months ago. I said, look, tell me if you see a picture. Don't dig up one from online. Take the picture yourself, put it on a laptop, hold a straight up edge to it. Tell me if you still see the curve. If you see a curve, then you send it to me. I will quit Flat Earth. It's never happened. I can show you balloon footage, non-fisheye lens. Don't give me that Red Bull Felix Baumgartner crap.
Wow.
At 121,000 feet, it is perfectly flat. That's the ground stuff you can test. Anyone can go to a beach right now and do that test right now, or look at a ship in the distance and crank your zoom up on your phone. The other one is a question that was never answered, which just threw me, which is the Van Allen radiation belt, which was announced in 1959 by Van Allen himself, and yet deadliest things ever. People cannot go through them. You will die. That was Van Allen's thing. And yet Apollo 8 through Apollo 17 went round trips through them. Nobody died. Nobody got radiation poisoning. Nobody got cancer. And when you go to ask NASA, we've tried. You ask NASA, what shielding did you use? Radiation, you can protect yourself 2 ways. You can use lead or you can use gold. That's it. What shielding did you use? Nothing, because it's too heavy. You couldn't do it. You can't you can't shield a capsule with a super heavy metal. It's like putting an anchor on top of a rocket. You don't do it. And no one ever explains it. It's this, and you say, okay, that doesn't really convince me of flat Earth. So okay, go to the simple website. You can find this in 2 seconds. Go to NASA.gov or just look up a video called Orion Trial by Fire. It's a video they put together, won a local Emmy. NASA, it was on television, where they talk about the Orion project, how they're going to go to Mars. But they had this weird section in there where they were talking. It's like, oh yeah, we got to figure out how we're going to get through the Van Allen radiation belts, and the first capsules we're going to launch are going to be unmanned because we haven't solved this problem of the Van Allen belt, the radiation problem yet. That's like, what are you talking about? You solved it already. You solved it, in fact, in the 1960s. Why are you even talking about that? Those are just 2 instances I point people at, but there's so much stuff out there. But fire away. What else you got?
Well, no, listen. I mean, honestly, I could talk forever. We were laughing about this discussion on the morning show. I'm intrigued by it. I will say. I mean, again,
I'll say that. Yeah.
I'm intrigued by it, and I think those that are enjoying the extra sauce on this would probably like to go to your website. So you might want to share that.
Yeah. The easiest way, and I'm not going to just promote my stuff, just go into YouTube and type in Flat Earth. If you want to see my stuff, type in Flat Earth Clues. And the website is called enclosedworld.com. Flat Earth Clues has been turned into an audiobook and it's translated in a whole bunch of languages. And again, don't think for a second that Shaq and Draymond and Kyrie and I don't know why people are leaving Richard Jefferson out of this. He's the biggest instigator of them all. This is not a fluke. B.O.B. was a fluke last year, maybe, but not now. This thing's going to just get bigger and bigger.
Well, thanks for joining us under the dome here on Extra Sauce. I suspect that we'll probably have you on another upcoming episode of Extra Sauce because I think people are going to be intrigued, Mark. So thanks. Now, listen, you're not currently living in an insane asylum or anything like that.
No.
Part
currently, right as we speak, I am in Victoria, Canada, but I grew up in the Seattle area and then spent 20 years in Colorado teaching people software.
All right. Well, thanks for being on with us, man. Thank you. We'll talk to you again.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Cuckoo. What do you honestly?
I don't know, Greg. I'm starting to absorb some of this, and it's somehow making sense.
The Antarctica stuff is interesting.
Yeah, that treaty.
So Mark joins us right now, and he's going to convince all of us that we have been living a long lie, a lifelong lie. When we were told in school that the Earth was round, we were being lied to. And Mark, thanks for being on Extra Sauce.
Thank you very much for having me.
A lot of people, the whole enclosed dome thing.
Well, we'll get into Mark. I wanted to ask you first. When did you start to believe that the Earth was flat? Like when did you start to really believe this?
It hit me. My Jerry Maguire moment for the flat Earth was February 10th of 2015. Woke up in the middle of the night after looking at this thing and trying to debunk it because nobody likes it. It's a piece of crap theory.
Yeah.
And everybody starts up. The T-shirt reads, "I became a flat earther because I tried to debunk flat Earth." And I tried for months and months, woke up on February 10th and said, you know what? I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to make a series of videos. I'm going to put it out on the internet. And I'm going to see if anybody challenges it. And honestly, I thought that for the first week or month or whatever, I thought, you know what, some scientist, some academic's gonna shoot this thing down in 2 seconds because it's easy.
I think you're crazy, but
I know.
Actually, you know what? Shu is becoming a believer.
Now let's slow down. I've been reading up on this since I knew we were going to talk to you, and I don't know, some of it to me, I'm a conspiracy theory kind of guy.
Oh yeah.
Some of it to me, it freaks me out a little bit how much I kind of buy here.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're as a skeptic, but
right, it's easy. Everyone knows it's an easy thing to debunk. And the exact opposite happened. Massive amounts of people started contacting me. Subject matter experts started calling in. I got to get unsolicited. I was interviewing all these people. They turned it into a book and a website and apps. And, here we are 2 years later. And now I'm putting videos about how Shaquille O'Neal is not a flat earther.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.